Welcome to late winter. We're out in shirt sleeves with a base layer. It feels great, and the number one question I'm getting, when are you going to get started with this nice warm winter? And for the most part, I'm not changing anything, but just like you, I've got to get something started, especially with weather like this. And I've got a bunch of cool experiments. This was one of them that we're going to look at. Let's get to work. Our first experiment was last fall. I planted this spinach. I had it under these street light covers. I pulled the street light covers up to see how they're doing. 3 of the 4 made it, and they've doubled in size over the last 2 weeks. This is going to be good. So I'm putting this old skylight over here because I want to use these for today's first experiment. So today I'm going to start seeds of the most cold tolerant varieties that I have. They're going to sit here and they're going to sprout when they're ready. I'm going to put them under protection, but you can't turn over your soil yet. It's too wet. Most gardens, just if you get in there and it sticks to the shovel and you try and turn it over, you're going to ruin your soil structure. So all we're doing in anything that we're planting today is just buying some compost, putting it on top, and then we'll put the seeds in that. You know, $5 bag of compost is going to go a long way to growing some early spring, late winter crops. That's still frozen. So the things I'm growing are things that I would have out here all winter. This is something new from John Sheeper's Kitchen Garden Seeds called red tatsoi. I've grown tatsoi before. It will only grow in cold weather. From the same company, Asian Greens. 7-top turnip from Lake Valley. I grew these a couple years ago. Again, indestructible once they sprout. Some evergreen bunching onions. And then corn salad, again, in the winter is indestructible. And I'll show you how I'm going to do it. Well, first our evergreen white bunching onions. I can't grow regular onions here. I don't have the sun for them to really head up, so I love bunching onions. And so we're going to have probably 2, maybe 3 spots here with different seeds in them. And first we'll put our seeds in and kind of scratch them in. You've seen this 100 times. With onions, it has to be fresh seed. This is one of the seeds that doesn't store well. And so I'm just going to sprinkle some in here because I want it to be about the same size around as that street light cover. And that's the first one. Then I think the red tatsoi is next, which I'm so excited about. Whenever you plant any seeds, though, I always got to label them. And these are last year's tags. This was a viola. We'll just flip it over, fill it out, and put it in here so we know what it is. If this experiment doesn't work, we're not out much. We're not using all our seeds, but it feels so good to be out here and doing something. All right, there's our little mini greenhouse. Yeah, I think we have room for about 3. This is the red tatsoi. I'm so excited to try something new. These things are really nice and thick and kept that spinach toasty, so this should work too. All right, let's see what's next to plant. I bet you this stuff you wouldn't even have to cover. But I'm not. Here's an experiment we're going to continue. This is a drop cloth from the hardware store, inexpensive, 3 mils thick, and this is the best looking red boar kale I have. There's actually a pansy in here getting ready to bloom. The spinach looks great, the arugula looks great. This just lifts on and lifts off. We're going to use this technique over here to plant a few more things, and this is going to go back on top. Maybe another month. I think that looks pretty good. So the medium we're using here is not compost, it's something called pit moss, P-I-T-T-M-O-S-S. I love the stuff. They're not paying me to say that. I use it because I love it. It is made from recycled newspapers, uses 2/3 less water, and I thought it'd be perfect to put this on top of a bed. And I've got some little wire supports. Again, you can find this 11 gauge wire at the hardware store already cut into lengths for you. We're going to put our seeds in. This is a 7-top turnip. It's a turnip that only makes the greens. And then we're going to cover it with not only 3 mils, we're going to double it over and have 6 mils of plastic on top. And again, we're just making a little outdoor greenhouse here. Once they sprout, there's no stopping them. Like I said, this is a plant that I've grown often all winter long. And so yeah, it's going to get crazy cold again. It always does. But I think this is going to work. Of course, these will all need thinned out too. This pit moss is already slightly moist, ready to go. And won't that be exciting if it's all covered in green? All right, and I'm going to tuck this into the soil under some straw, and we're good to go. Looks good. All right, we have one more experiment. This next little trick I learned from my good friend and fellow Trib columnist, Jessica Walliser, and it's using clam shells or some kind of other container with a closing top. This was a turkey pastrami. It was good too. And it's filled with basic planting mix, already moistened. We're just going to put this new Mizuna in here. This is called Ms. America from John Sheeper's Kitchen Seeds. And like in a little thing like this, we'll put a bunch of seeds in here, but we'll thin it all out, and we'll just tap them in here. And again, we're not using all our seeds. We're using maybe 1/10 of our seeds in this packet. And if they don't sprout, they don't sprout. But like I continually keep saying, I think it's going to work. Okay. Push that in. Put the top on, and we just leave it outside. And they sprout when they're ready. We're just mimicking nature. You know, nature's going to grow up a plant, going to flower, throw some seeds on the ground. The next spring, up they come. I got one more really cool thing to show you, and it's a sign of spring. Well, check it out. The first crocus of the year is blooming. The first color in the garden. It's fantastic. And this plant here, I inherited these bulbs. They were here 21 years ago when I moved in. And no matter how much searching I've done and talked to bulb experts to find something that blooms as early, this is the only one that starts this early. There's crocuses all over here. They'll be blooming in a couple weeks. But this is the first one of the season, and I'm so happy to see it. All right, let's finish up. Part of the fun of gardening is experimentation. When you're out at the nursery looking through those seed racks, pull something new off there. Give it a shot. You don't have much to lose. A couple bucks for a seed packet. Now, check me out at everybodygardens.com. That's where my schedule is for the upcoming Duquesne Light Home and Garden Show. You can come for free as long as you come see me speak, and I'm speaking a lot at the show. Until next week, I think it's finally time to clean up the garden. Maybe this week, maybe next. We'll see you then.